Good day, America. I'm here with more EVTV and two guests. To my far right is Kyle Connor, infamous of the Terminator movie. Actually, no, you don't have anything to do with that.
Not at all, nope.
And his friend, and apparently a long-time EVTV viewer, Don Miller.
Yep, absolutely.
And where are you all coming to us from?
I'm from Fuquay, Varina, North Carolina.
North Carolina.
Yep.
God's country.
Yep.
I have a brother and a sister now living in North Carolina. Neither from there, but that's
Yep.
where they're landing. It's apparently
Same
pretty
here.
country.
Yeah.
It is.
And you, Kyle?
Yeah, Raleigh, right up the road from Don.
Yep.
Very good. And you drove out in your new?
Model 3 Performance, right. We took it from Raleigh to Austin, Texas, and we're making the return trip through
Right.
Cape Girardeau.
Yep. I asked Kyle if I could come up here and see Jack. I've been watching Jack for 4 years. I have went back and watched all the videos, but I probably started watching you 4 years ago. Mm-hmm. I've thoroughly enjoyed your videos, learned a lot.
Thank you. We're glad to have you.
Yep.
As a long-time viewer. People get a little lost as to why I'm not so avid about getting more views on YouTube or something, and they just don't understand. It's kind of a club, guys. If you're not in it, you kind of got to be referred, or this isn't going to work. I don't speak fast enough, and I'm not young and pretty enough, and I am growing some tits, but not really anything I want to show off as an old guy. But other old guys get the gig, and it's sort of a gig. So Fully Charged approached me 3 times to come speak at their Austin thing. They were describing a round table, a table discussion or something.
Yeah, they had a lot of those.
I really didn't see going there for 12 minutes to talk to people. I don't travel well or willingly unless it's something pretty cool.
Yep.
Was it pretty cool?
It was okay. It was a little disappointing. Robert Llewellyn was sick and he flew back. He had some type of medical procedure he needed. He thought he could put off, but apparently it didn't work out that way. So that was a little disappointing. But it was really good networking. Met a lot of YouTube people that I do watch, the Tesla-specific YouTube personalities. And,
Sure.
And the sessions were good, but the venue was a racetrack, and they had a track day, so it was sort of a anticlimactic. You go there for electric car, and all you hear is the roar of exhaust. That was a little bit of, I would have preferred that not there. Bigger venue. I think what happened, it was hurt by its success. There were so many people there. It was cram, packed full of people.
Incredible turnout.
Yes,
Really
I'm
was.
sure they're thrilled with it, and maybe if they have it again next year, they'll pick a different venue with more space.
Events are very difficult. I had a partner in an event company back in the 90s to do the Internet Service Provider Convention. People have no idea. Well, particularly the way we did it, we'd have 200 speakers in 3.5 days. So we made some of our own grief, but we worked on that for a year, and it was ruled by a book that specified every piece of audio-visual equipment, every chair in every room, and who was responsible from the hotel or the AV company for doing that, their signature and cell phone number. It was a 750-page book.
Oh, wow.
Phil Becker was my partner, and he's a little OCD, and I can be. God is in the details. So teamed together, it turned paramilitary.
Wow.
And it was a nightmare for me personally. For 3.5 days, I basically had to be there there in a wake. We did some EVTV
Right.
conventions on a much smaller scale,
That was-
couple hundred people, but
That was the first video of yours I saw, just to time it, was when you called off whichever EVCon 14, 2014 or something like that. That happened to be the very first video of yours that I watched.
really.
Yeah.
Well, that one I called off wouldn't call off, and we still had 150 people showed up. And we did it mostly here in the shop, and believe it or not, it worked.
Yeah.
So events are very difficult.
Yep.
And they can be enormously profitable, so it attracts a lot of people who like to play event, but they usually come off kind of lame.
Yep.
Unless they want to pay the price. We actually set up a third company with 4 full-time employees, and then we beat them up, each of us separately,
Oh, right.
every day for a year. And as my guys can tell you, it's not as I'm not as nice off camera as I am on it.
Right.
At the center of every successful entrepreneurial activity
Yeah.
is a detail-oriented, over-controlling, authoritarian, freak show, OCD, detail-obsessed, my way or the highway asshole. If you don't know who that is, it's probably you. And Elon Musk certainly
Absolutely.
fits the bill.
Absolutely.
Checks every
That's
box.
one of the
Yeah.
reasons I believe in him, is he
Yeah.
has a very short fuse with the lame and the halt, and
Absolutely.
suffers fools poorly.
Yeah, absolutely.
So now, Kyle, you were on the Cannonball run. Was Don with you?
Don was not, but he it was very not so much support. Don tries to keep me safe and in line.
That's right.
You know, I'm always drifting around the racetrack doing silly
Yeah.
things, and actually, you do as
So
well.
that's
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
more than a part-time job, I would
Yeah,
imagine.
pretty much. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, he keeps
Yeah.
me in check all the time.
Yeah, I met Kyle. He sold me the Model X. He was working for Tesla at the time.
Uh-huh.
That's right.
And when my wife and I purchased the Model X, Kyle helped us with that.
And tell us about the Cannonball run. Kyle stopped in. We were going to do a whole thing,
We got-
and instead we drank coffee and bullshit until he had to leave.
That's right.
That was when he
That was on the way back from the run.
way back from the run.
That's
Tell
right.
us about the run.
Yeah, sure. It's the Cannonball history, of course, has been running since the 60s and 70s, and it's sort of the idea of how quickly can you get from this particular garage, the Red Ball garage in Manhattan, all the way to the Portofino. It was called the Inn, now it's Hotel Marino in Redondo Beach, California. And essentially it's 2,850 miles across the country. You do anything you want in the middle. Those are pretty much the start and end points. Nothing is official, nothing's Guinness Book Records. You have to prove your times with GPS data, timestamps. And I had saw a opportunity with the electric car record. Obviously, I love electric cars. I like going fast, and I've always wanted to do a Cannonball, but the internal combustion times were just so unachievable, at least for a sane person. I'm not saying it can't be broken, and one was just done in 27 hours and some change in an internal combustion
Right,
Mercedes
yeah,
E-Class. Then I'm like, okay, I road trip a lot with electric cars. I understand charging curves. I sort of understand how to get A to B as quickly as possible. So I'm like, I'm going to do the run.
Mr. 2%. If he pulls in at a supercharger with more than 2%, he's pretty much failed.
Right, that's too much
Yeah,
range to pull in with.
That's right.
And right, so I took at the time my previous car, lowered it down to the ground. It was a Model 3 long range rear wheel drive. So big battery, rear wheel, most efficient configuration.
Yeah.
And basically just blasted across the country as quickly as possible. And we did it, my friend Matthew Davis and I did it in 45 hours, 16 minutes. So that is was many hours faster than the previous runs.
See, I've just never wanted to be in California that bad.
That's right. We turned around and got out as soon as possible.
Yep, yep.
Well, congratulations. So that is, does that remain the EV record
It
for
does.
the Cannonball run?
Yeah.
It would be difficult to break it. Obviously, I've done calculations on the current Teslas. Even if I were to take the same car, the charging profile for that battery pack has been brought from a relatively aggressive profile down much more conservatively. So you're losing 10% state of charge of super fast 150 kilowatt charging. So it's really not possible in that car. The only thing, we had a really perfect run except a few hours of traffic due to weather in Indianapolis. So if you can make it across the country and manage not to hit anything else, I'd say it'd be close with the current charging profiles. I've run the numbers on Taycan, the Porsche, because its peak rate is 270 kilowatt, and now we have a great nationwide charging network on Electrify America with 350 kilowatt chargers all the way across the country on 2 different routes. And with the efficiency of that car, it's definitely better than what EPA rated it as, but with the efficiency and the hookup times, I'm not quite sure you could beat it even with that.
Now, you've since traded that car.
That's right. That car is somewhere else. Not sure who bought it.
When did you do this?
This was the last day of September 2019.
And how many miles do you have now on the new car?
So it's been 4 months pretty much to the day, and I have 28,000 miles on this one. Yeah, something like that.
The reason I bring this up is by contrast, I got one of the very early Model 3s in February of 2018, and I just turned 5,000 miles.
It's a trip to the grocery store.
So I idle around at 22 miles an hour, and I drive about 12 miles a day. And but Kyle here actually puts the cars through their paces. I actually had the drive unit changed on my Model S. It's 7 years old, and it had 25,000 miles on it. But the drive unit finally failed. It was one of the early Model S's, but I never had a problem because I never go anywhere. And they did replace the drive unit. They charged me for the drive axles.
Yeah.
Really? That's not covered under the 8-year. It's silly.
Who knows?
There's just some weird stuff about Tesla.
There is a lot, specifically on the service side, that I've had issues with over the years, and you see some real wacky stuff like that.
Yeah, it's just like, it's not, I don't even know that it's bad, it's just strange.
Wacky.
Well, we've my wife and I have been very fortunate with the service has been very good. The mobile guys have worked well.
We love them. They
Yeah.
come down here,
Yeah.
we yuck it up, they want to talk about Tesla, and
Yeah.
they're Tesla fans, and a lot of them are EVTV fans,
Yeah.
and
Right.
they come down in a van and go through the cars, and I don't have a complaint
Right.
Right.
about Tesla service. It's just some of it is
It's wacky.
weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say they've been very good to me personally about taking care of my cars, even with modifications and heavy track use. You know, keep in mind my cars spend a lot of time on the racetrack
Yeah.
under high load scenarios, and if there's ever issue, they've never, and I'm very transparent. Obviously, a lot of our stuff's on YouTube; they can see it.
Right.
They've always been very good to me about that stuff.
So that's an interesting thing with the endurance and so forth. You were talking about the charging. I was talking about how little I drive. I almost never supercharge. We don't even have a supercharger in Cape Girardeau. There's one about 30 miles south in Minor. But I'll drive up to St. Louis, and I don't get the mileage that Tesla advertises. If you drive 70 or 75, you just don't. If you slow down to 60 or 65, you will.
Yeah, that's right.
And this is why I had a guy trying to get me involved in a lot of Tesla rage over the change in how they calculate your state of charge as a reaction to a battery fire. It was just to say they did something, and how these people had lost range. And I told the guy, "You're a moron." I don't know how to explain this to you, but you're just a freaking moron.
Yeah.
Your range is a function of your right foot.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You're not.
And
yeah.
we have proven on EVTV a dozen times. I had a little yellow Porsche Speedster that we could get 185 miles of range or 60
Yep.
Right.
in the same car
Yeah.
by driving it a little bit differently.
Yep. Absolutely.
And it's just, your range in an electric car. They've had people in Model S's do over 600 miles.
That's right. I think my Model
If
3.
that's what you want to do.
Yeah.
Not me.
If you have an internal tank big enough, your P tank.
Yeah, I as I've learned on this trip, the superchargers, they could be a little closer for me.
No, that's the other thing is the range thing is that's for younger people.
People, yeah, this guy, but not me.
We don't have bladders that work that way.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right.
And so, but I recently was charging in St. Louis. And if I would drive up there and drive back, I'd probably make it in the 3. Certainly if I'd slow down to 65. But when you get to St. Louis, it's a big area. You go different places and drive around and so forth. So I have to charge before I come back home. You were saying that you would pull in at 2%. I knew this in my brain, but to see it and feel it was quite startling. We charged 46% on that car in 12 minutes.
Yep.
Yes, that was my average time charging across the country on the Cannonball was 12 minutes.
Yeah, now I could have stayed there another 50 minutes
Yep.
to get full.
That's right.
And it's the way these batteries work is you charge at full current and then you start tapering the current as you approach the higher state of charge.
Yep.
Tesla did not invent that.
Nope.
That's how lithium batteries are charged, by the
Absolutely,
way.
100%.
Yep.
And I knew this, but to actually experience it being kind of low on charge and adding, I think we did 46% in about 12 minutes.
That sounds about right.
And I still was, like 60% charged or something.
Yep.
But that's the point.
Right. That's one of the myths that people, or one of the misconceptions that people have is that, how long does it take to charge? Oh, well, it takes, at home, 8 hours overnight. Well, when you're traveling with a supercharger, you don't ever charge it full. You charge it up to get to the next charging station.
Well, I had in my mind that you would charge it full and then go to the next charging station while you still have 30 or 40% left and charge it to full. No, I'd be trying to figure out how to arrive at 2%, charge it to 70, and then go to
That's
the
right.
next one.
Yeah. Very
And,
rarely did we charge above 55%.
Yeah, I think.
And even now, I travel pretty much the same wherever I go, but
Right.
usually if we're above 50%, we're just wasting time.
Let me take a victory lap and we'll talk about some
Yes,
things.
give him a round of applause.
Some days it's better to be lucky than
right.
good, huh?
That's right.
And it's great to be the king.
Yeah. And thank you, Jack.
Yep.
January 4th, I had made a bit of money on some January 17th Tesla $380 call options. And I sat down and said, I guess I ought to talk about this, but it's kind of frightening because people might do some of that, and it's with their money. And I'm not a stock analyst, and I don't play one on TV. But it's kind of like this is going to be a unique period in the evolution of Tesla as an investment. And I know a great deal about it. And so I probably ought to mention it.
You did.
And so I did a video called Why I Finally Shorted Tesla
Yes, that's
Stock. Would you believe I got dozens of comments from people thinking I had shorted
Right.
Tesla
Before
stock?
they watch the video.
No, I don't think they ever watched the video. I think there's just
Happens
like
all the time.
roving bands of morons on the internet now that just
There are.
like go around and reply to stuff they know nothing about.
Yeah.
That's right.
But it was astonishing to me. In any event, I explained a play that only works in a volatile stock price situation. And that is bracketing or straddling a stock price way out of the money using very low priced call and put options because they're so out of the money. And how to play it both ways where you don't care which direction it goes, just as long as it moves. And the way you get killed on this is if it stays put. And the clock's running on your options and you run out. And by the way, I've lost a lot of money this way too.
Okay.
In the past, with options expiring while the stock just is sitting there. But I knew this would be a very volatile period. We had the delivery data, and I was looking forward to the earnings call. More about that in a second. But I predicted that Tesla's stock price would be very volatile. I don't know, up from down, but I think up.
Right.
So what I did was bought call and put options, puts at 300 and calls at 600 that cost $1 or $2 or $4. So if it goes one way, you lose your entire investment on the other side. But on the side you win, you can get 3 or 4 or 5 times your money. So you wind up winning. So I had 1,100 shares of Tesla. I sold 800 of them because this is going to be a volatile period. Moved it to cash, took half the cash, and put it in this option straddle. Well, I had no idea. That was at $404. Tesla hit $940 this morning,
that's right.
1 month later.
Right. Right.
And I had all February and March options. Well, one of them this morning was 14,000% up.
14,000. I don't even know how you write that on a piece of paper.
Well, I don't know how they display it on a computer screen, and I was looking at it all this morning. One 96-cent option. And an option is a contract for 100 shares. So if I pay $1 for the option, that's $1 a share or $100 per contract. Well, I bought a couple hundred contracts.
Right.
This was actually, pretty good sized bet, maybe $100,000. It's made $2.5 million, and I've left more money on the table than you can imagine.
Sure. Oh, yeah.
Because when it got to $550, I sold half of them, and when it got to $650, I sold half of what was left, and when it got to $750, I sold half of what's left. And this morning it was $940, and I sold half of what's left. The problem is, what's left is still worth over $750,000.
That's right.
And some of those $2 options are trading for $350 a piece. That's $35,000 per contract.
That's right. Yep. Crazy.
So I've got one February 21st $600 option left that's worth more than I put in the options to begin with. The whole investment.
The whole thing.
It's just crazy.
That is
and I've
crazy.
still got options left.
Wow.
What's causing all this? Well, the the earnings call was a big part of it. I think we finally have some capitulation. As of January 15th, 2 weeks later, we still had 25 million shares out short.
Yep.
Reference my August blog on shorts that are not really shorts,
Yep.
and how I believe some of the oil companies have been trying to sow fear, uncertainty, and doubt to keep the other automakers sidelined to wait and see what Tesla did. Well, now they've seen. But another thing I believe has happened this week, and that is called fear of being left out. Now we've got major funds who can't end this year and tell their fund owners that they sat on the sidelines
Missed it.
and missed the Tesla run up.
Yep.
You can't do that.
Interesting.
And it's sort of combined with sort of a shift of socially conscious investing, which I don't really believe in, but they're doing it anyway. Jim Cramer's like, I'm not going to buy any more fossil fuels companies. And so you actually have kind of a green thing
That's right.
going on in investing. And Tesla's really the only pure play out there in that space. And so it's turned into a perfect storm that's wiping out the shorts finally. But I think kind of a piling on of, I can't have this in our portfolio that we missed it.
Sure.
We have to be, we don't have to make money, but we got to be in. Or this is going to go bad for us.
Yep.
And so yesterday it went from 650 to 774.
That's
and
right.
Today I don't even know what it's trading at now. But it hit 940 this morning. Let's see here.
And when I checked, it was like 836. I mean 936 or
That's
934.
right. 937, something like that. Now it's at 904.
904.
Yep.
So it's backed off a little bit, but it could go up again tomorrow.
Yeah, I love it. It's down to 904.
Right. Yeah.
Down to 904.
So all the YouTube guys have talked about the earnings call, and I think almost entirely, Galileo, Jeremy, everybody has missed it entirely. They talked all about the revenues and the earnings and demonstrated their facile understanding of the balance sheet, which is, to my mind, pretty basic, but okay. Except the earnings call was never about earnings or revenues. I was entirely interested in the earnings call for the forward-looking statements or often termed guidance. This is the first quarter of the new
Yeah, that's
year.
right.
That's when they're going to be talking about what's coming in the coming year.
Right.
And interesting call in that they started with retail investor questions and then moved to stock analyst questions. And as Elon did note, the retail investment questions were much more interesting. And to my astonishment, several things I really wanted to know about, did come out in the call. But from the retail investors like Galileo, Russell. And the biggest one, of course, was that I was looking for from really mid-December is why the crickets on the Model Y. They announced the Model Y last March. They said they would produce it by the end of 2020. And we didn't hear but about the Model Y. It's 10% bigger.
Yeah, that's all.
It's gonna be 70% the same parts
Parts,
as the
yeah.
Model 3.
Right.
Yeah.
And a whole lot of yawn.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to thinking about this. SUVs is a big market.
Absolutely.
The sedan is actually dead.
Yep. Yep.
I mean, like
Totally.
Ford is dropping them.
Dropping.
GM is dropping.
No one's
They're not
buying
even going to have the
That's
model.
That's
Right.
right.
But pickups and SUVs
It's all the rage.
are kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
Why no Model Y news? Well, the guy is pushing the hell out of Model 3s.
Yeah.
Yep.
And as Don and I were talking about the old days, the Osborne effect.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Osborne Computer announced a new model that was significantly better, but they weren't ready to sell it.
That's right.
And so for the next 6 months, they had $0.00 coming in because who wants to buy the old one when a new one's coming?
That's right.
There will be some cannibalization of Model 3 sales by the Model Y. Now, I personally think you're not going to see a decrease in the Model 3 numbers, but you will see a huge decrease from what the Model 3 numbers would have been if the Model
Waiting
Y
for
didn't
Model
come
Y.
out.
That's right.
I agree.
And but he certainly didn't want to kill Model 3 deliveries
Right. Everyone would have waited.
in
That's right.
anticipation of the Y.
Right. That could have really upset the whole business plan of Tesla at that point if that would have happened.
But he did mention that they were going to move it up to mid-year instead of the end of the year. And then we started seeing Model Ys
Right on the road everywhere.
out on the road.
Yeah.
Well, if you're not producing Model Ys, why are we seeing them driving down the street? So I look for some Model Y announcements
Yeah.
in the earnings call, which would cause a big bump in the stock. And it was there.
Yeah.
In fact, he said that they would be delivering Model Ys by the end of the quarter.
That's right.
Yep.
That they were building them then.
Yes, a little later in the call, that they were already in production.
Yep.
Yep.
And a little later in the call, later on in the quarter.
Right.
Not really the end,
Not
but
the end,
later
but
on in
later
the
on.
quarter.
Right.
Well, the earnings call's on January 29th.
Yeah.
Right.
And February's a short
And
month.
February is a short month. How much later in the quarter do you have left, Elon?
That's right.
You're running out of quarter while you're talking to us.
That's right.
And so I took that as an enormously positive sign. The revenues were $7.3 billion. Great.
Yeah. Whatever.
Who cares? At this point, I don't even care. I don't care if they... My theory of growth stocks, and I've been following tech stocks since the 80s. All of them. The Netscape
Sure.
IPO, I had Amazon stock the first week they went public. Cisco Systems, Juniper Networks, AOL. I've traded in and out of these
Yeah.
things so many times, I go blind. And I've lost more money in the stock market than anybody you'll ever meet, by the way. So don't look to me for stock advice, in spite of being inordinately well positioned for this call this time, one time in a row.
Yeah.
Even a blind hog gets an acorn now and again.
Turns over.
And man, did I fall into it on this one.
That's right.
But some other very interesting things in the call that did come out.
Okay.
One of them that I think is very interesting is don't mess with my discount.
So, Kim, you going for a big drive safe and save discount?
Yep, using the app, I've been quite vigilant.
Sharon says step on it, the meeting started.
Okay, write her back. Dear Sharon, don't mess with my discount.
Faster, Mommy, I gotta go to the bathroom.
I do too, honey, but we're gonna hold it for Mommy's discount. Easy, easy.
But you're in labor.
Don't mess with my discount!
Get a discount up to 30% with Drive Safe and Save from State Farm.
State Farm has got these commercials. They're
Oh,
really
right,
cute.
yeah, absolutely, yes.
Don't mess with my discount.
Right.
Where people get an app from State Farm and they have to buy a little Bluetooth device
I have
that
that.
goes in the car,
I have that.
and it monitors your driving.
Yeah.
Not a good thing for me.
Now, what do you-
Probably not something you would be after.
Well, I only use it on my non-Tesla.
Right. Because
I
I,
don't
was gonna
put it on
say,
the Tesla.
I ripped your Model X around the track the other day. I'm sorry about
Well,
your
it would work great for me.
I don't put it on my
I haven't
Tesla.
had a car wreck in like 40 years or something. I drive 22 miles an hour most of the time. I don't go anywhere. There's nobody I want to see.
Yeah.
And the, I put 3,000 miles a year on a car.
Right.
And so this would work fantastic for me. But the commercials are cute.
Yeah.
Don't mess my discount. And we do a little device for the Tesla Model 3 that gives it an OBD2 port, which it doesn't have.
Yep.
It really hasn't caught on with the bottom feeders on the Tesla forums.
Right.
They all want something for less. And it's available, but it doesn't really have the OBD2 port. It doesn't really work like an OBD2 port.
Right.
We almost can't build these things fast enough, but it's not for what you think. It's for people with insurance and fleet things that
Oh, really?
plug into the OBD2 port and do the same thing as the State Farm.
Right.
Don't mess my discount.
Right.
I didn't think of it.
And they have to have an OBD2 port to plug the device the fleet or insurance company provides. And so that's kind of driven the sales of that device for this one thing. And I
Makes sense.
just tell my brother about it. He says, "Oh, I got one in my car." Why? Well, I get a lot less. The whole company does this. We get a lot lower car insurance by doing this. And so it's kind of an old guy trick to pay insurance on the way you actually drive rather than trying to cover the 25-year-olds.
Right.
And they do have it broken out by age, but that's a pretty rough approximation.
Yes.
Using these monitoring devices, which sound Orwellian, but you can prove that you're not in that risk group.
That's right.
And so you get a better rate.
Makes sense. It's a great idea.
Yeah.
Tesla has introduced car insurance,
That's right.
but they don't need an OBD2 device.
It's all
They
internal.
don't need a Bluetooth device. They don't need any devices.
Yeah.
You don't have to have an app on your phone.
Don't
The
even
car
have to
is
have
the
that.
device.
That's right.
They can monitor anything. One of the things they wanted to check before replacing my drive unit was the car logs.
That's right.
Well, why? Well, to see if I'd been racing and
Ripping it around.
and tearing it up,
Right.
which in my case would be
22 miles an hour, real
Comical.
fast. Hold on tight.
I cannot imagine what they said when they reviewed my
They fell
law.
asleep. They
Right.
fell asleep.
They're like, quick, change this guy's drive unit before he actually dies on it. During his nap.
Right. Yeah. Get it out of here.
And so the Tesla's already got this.
Yeah.
And Elon spoke entirely of regulatory issues. You know, the insurance laws are different in every state,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and you have to be approved in every state you offer insurance in.
Okay.
And that's further complicated by a archaic rate regulations that aren't really set up for this new monitoring thing.
Right.
And so they have a lot of issues getting into the insurance business, which have very little to do with insurance. But as Musk pointed out, I got guys paying $300 or $400 on a Model 3 lease, and they're paying $100 a month on insurance.
Right. Right.
Oh, I'm sure people are, yeah.
And it doesn't even make sense.
No.
Actually, it does make some sense, Elon, because your failure on right to repair and
Right.
your use
Well,
of
sure.
aluminum makes
thing I
the
would
cars very expensive to repair
Right.
Absolutely.
after a wreck. And that goes right into the insurance premium. But
Right.
yes, it could be done better even then. And in Tesla's case, his story is that autopilot
Yeah.
is safer than human drivers. Well, they could monitor how much time you spend on autopilot
That's right.
They can.
and rate adjust your insurance based on your actual driving. And they have every millisecond of what voltage comes
Anything
out
you
of
want.
each of the
That's
two
right.
channels on your throttle.
That's right.
For example, torque requests and RPM and miles per hour and acceleration and GPS location and
Yeah.
everything.
You got it all.
Real time. Near enough. Real time-ish enough. So they don't have to add anything to the car.
No, they're set up perfectly for that.
It's like they already own the data.
Yeah.
And so Tesla really could insure Teslas nationwide at a significant discount from other insurers and still make more money on the insurance than the other insurers would have.
Yeah, I believe that.
How does this work out?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the usual battle with state legislatures and regulatory issues. And that's what he has facing him on solar.
Yeah. Absolutely. I was going to say
That's what he has facing him on autopilot. It's what is facing him on insurance is all archaic rent owners and protected interests that don't want him playing in their game. But they're going to lose on the facts. You can't fake news your way out of this.
Nope.
They have the data. A guy, a notorious short, Nathan, can't remember his name, just filed a thing with the National Highway
right.
Traffic Safety
Oh, yeah, I saw
Administration about 127 uncommanded acceleration events. The man does not own a Tesla, has never driven a Tesla, is a notorious Tesla short, and issued a press release that the NHTSA was investigating Tesla. No, they opened an investigation of his claim.
Right.
That's all NHTSA was, and they said we'll either refer that for further action or enter it into the public record that we decline to do so.
Right.
Tesla had already looked into all
Every
127
single
claims and had the logs of what was happening. It may have been an unintentional acceleration event, but the guy's foot was pushing the pedal through the floor at the time,
Yeah.
and it's not a guess.
Yeah.
That's right.
No.
There's two different sensors on the throttle. They actually are scaled differently. I had to go through this in mastering the drive unit for the Tesla.
Right.
It has two different voltages, Hall effect sensors. They're on two different scales. One starts at like 0.75 volts and goes to 4 volts. The other one starts at 1.5 volts and goes to 3.5. And the comparison is done algorithmically. And you have to have both. And they have to match.
That's right. And then the car moves.
You can't fail the throttle.
Right.
And by the way, the resolution of that is the motor stops turning.
Right.
That's if it doesn't match, it don't turn.
Right.
Don't ask me how I know.
Probably trying to make it turn.
Well, I was trying to make it turn. And so they have the data. And so that's a huge deal. The other one is not going to be of intense interest to Tesla followers, but it's huge in a lot of ways. And it's going to be huge for Tesla. It hasn't mattered up to now because there weren't that many Teslas on the road.
Right.
So who cares? He has, I think, over-described it as robotic taxis.
Right.
Yeah.
The whole autopilot thing, I remain skeptical on.
Yeah.
Same
And
here.
I would notice that he's actually going to have a hacker's day in his home and basically trying to hire people into his autopilot program, which isn't working.
That's right.
And in fact, he said recently that they have redone the core of it and it's going to be very advanced. He always puts this in a positive light about why in each of the last 3 years he's predicted a cross-country drive by a Tesla unattended
Yeah.
that has never happened.
Yeah.
And I've been talking about this for several years.
Yeah.
Will it happen? You know, I believe technology is driven by human desire. And if you want it, we can build it. Especially if you're willing to pay for it.
That's right.
It's going to happen.
I agree.
But this one is a much harder software problem than I can describe or actually fathom.
Yes.
And
Way more
as
advanced.
Don here worked for IBM for
Yep.
30 years.
30 years.
I've been waiting for something to load, something to compile, something to save, or something to print since 1979. That's longer than you were at IBM. And software's not as easy as we make it look.
Yeah. The saying in IBM was, software is kind of like having a baby. It takes 9 months, no matter how many women you put on the job.
That's right.
It just, software
Take
takes
one
it.
gal 9 months or 9 gals 11 months because they spend a lot of time talking to each other about what they're going through.
Yeah, it's just.
Or 20 gals would never get it done at all. It would simply devolve into a discussion about what a bunch of shitholes the men were.
That's right. If
You never get a baby.
You keep putting people on it in software, and that usually slows it down.
Body count is a problem.
Yeah.
And it's an inverted problem.
Yeah.
If you can't get one guy to do it, 50 is not going to make it better. And it can be very hard. The driving is an ever-changing, very hard to predict model. And so I predict future failure for Tesla and ongoing failure with full self-driving and autopilot.
100%.
Does that mean they're not going to get there or not going to get close? You know, it didn't really say that.
That's right.
I do like it that I can now at least get my car to get its own ass out of the garage, and sometimes even close the garage door behind itself. That's a plus.
Yep.
And adaptive cruise control.
Love it.
How about that shit?
Yep. Love it.
I'm a big fan
You
of
can
ADAS
get addicted
features.
to that really
in a
quick,
heartbeat.
huh?
It's amazing. It's great.
Yeah.
So the navigation obviously is a huge plus. I just punch the button and mumble some shit describing where I want to go,
takes
and puts up a list of near guesses and misses.
So
I
easy.
can pick it off there.
We said let's go to EVTV
I got a map.
motorboats,
Let's go to,
and it took us right here.
and here we are.
That's right.
So, I'm not wanting to pee in the pool on the whole concept.
Yeah.
It's your desire for it to be here right now is equally fervent and ardent as Elon's desire for it to be here and working right now. And it's not here, and it's not going to be here very soon.
That's right.
If it were, there's some regulatory issues complicated by the body count of people that have already died trying to drive this thing that way.
It is one of the most dangerous systems, autopilot specifically, if used improperly. It's fine if you're ready to take over, but it lulls you into a false sense of security. It is purely driver assistance, not replacement, and will stay that way for a while.
I have been ready to take over, and it's almost got me 2 or 3 times now.
Yeah.
And frighteningly so.
Right. I think we all have. I would say I'm more positive towards it, but yeah, I certainly wouldn't. I don't put my life in its hands for sure.
So I'm in St. Louis. I got like 6 lanes, maybe, I-55 approaching the downtown. And I got cars on both sides, and we're doing 60 miles an hour. And a pickup truck changes lanes in front of me with a load full of aluminum cones, like domes.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Radar probably freaked out.
One of them flew out of the truck into the road right in front of me. Now, what's the car want to do? Avoid it.
I hope.
What's Jack want to do?
Plow right through it.
Nail that MF.
That's right. That's what you got to do.
Aim the nose at it.
That's right.
Why? Because I got cars all around me.
That's right.
And I don't know that they're not dodging cones too.
That's right.
That's right.
I don't know what's going to happen next.
Yeah.
But I know what I'm going to do.
Right
I'm
through
going to
it.
go right up that pickup truck's ass.
That's right.
And right over that cone. We're going to take the hit.
Absolutely.
Because I happen to know that if it's light enough to blow out of the truck,
That's a good point.
it can't be too structurally sound.
That's right.
I bet my Model 3 wins on this deal.
That's right.
And it did. But then I'm dragging this thing down the road, throwing sparks. I got to get over 2 lanes and get stopped. It was a Texas goat rodeo under the influence of bathroom gin. But I'm 64. I've driven a lot. I know how to do this stuff.
Yeah.
I got it all handled.
That's right.
What's the Model 3 going to do for me? It's going to try to kill me.
I would agree.
Well,
In that
you know.
scenario, it wouldn't have acted correctly.
And why didn't Elon's programming team be able to predict that aluminum domes blowing out of the back of a pickup
so
truck
easy.
right in front of you? I mean, it's obvious to me,
That's
huh?
right.
How come that isn't heuristically in the algorithm?
No perception. It can't perceive.
So, key among his many announcements recently was the fact that they've gone back to the core and redone the way vision is now not vision, it's part of the core
Right.
AI thing. All 8 cameras, which then brings up the question, what does it do when one of the cameras fail?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no
I mean,
redundancy.
This is like,
Yeah.
you can have team meetings on this for the rest of your life at IBM.
Yeah. You could.
You can't run out of stuff.
I told you. You can't test it too much.
That's
There's
right.
always another bug. We test software for months. We find bugs and ship it and find even more bugs. So it's like it doesn't.
Guys,
matter.
what do I talk about all the time? Yeah, it works perfectly. Let's test it some more.
Right.
Why? Because in 45 years of software development, I've never seen a software program that works.
That's right.
I'd love to see one. I just like to look at the code.
Yeah, until Jesus writes code, it ain't going to be perfect.
No, it's not. I'm sorry, guys. Until JC himself learns to code,
That's right. It ain't going to.
it ain't gonna happen.
That's right.
And so that's my. But let's forget robo-taxis. Let's talk about Luddites.
Okay.
In 1811, according to the apocryphal and largely discredited story, Ned Ludd broke into a factory in England and broke a frame machine that wove
Weavers.
cloth.
Yeah, right.
Because these machines were putting home weavers out of work. And this turned into kind of a movement called the Luddites, and they were breaking into factories and tearing up the machines to save their livelihood, which wasn't usually a main thing. It was like their wife's sideline or something, you know, weaving cloth at home. That was a significant portion of their income. And that began the conflict between technology and employment. That new technologies tend to displace workers. Interestingly, ever since then, new technologies do displace workers, but they create more jobs in every case we know of than have been displaced. And so there may be less buggy whip makers, but man, are there some guys working on spark plugs.
That's right.
And tires and my favorite is Bill Lear.
Oh, yeah.
Figured out a way to have a radio in a car and filter out the ignition noise from the battery, and started a company to put radios in cars. And today that company is still called Motorola. Everybody thinks he invented the Learjet. That was
Later.
a whole bunch of inventions later. But he started life founding Motorola, which allowed you to put a radio in a car. So there's whole new industries that are spawned by new technology, and many, many more jobs that are lost.
Yep.
But I've been concerned the last 10 years, and actually quite concerned to the point of even conceptualizing Andrew Yang's universal basic income. Actually, the conservative Charles Murray even caved on this and said we ought to consider this because the new internet technologies are wiping out millions of jobs at a whack.
Yep. Yep.
When was the last time you had a conversation with a financially successful travel agent?
That's right. Millions of those.
Millions of real estate agents are being displaced right now,
Yep.
whether they know it or not. It's across the board. There's just a lot of jobs being lost to technology that'll never come back. Manufacturing jobs are different.
Yeah.
Where you had 40,000 workers, you can now have 4,000. And with the technology, they're doing more work than the 40,000 did.
Yeah.
And so automation poses a real threat to employment
Yeah.
in the United States. Ergo, the meme, learn to code.
But that ain't going to protect you much longer.
You know what? I've tried to teach people to code. Some people can code,
Yeah.
and they don't need a university. And some people can't learn to code if you send them to Harvard and MIT for the next 20 freaking years. It's just,
Yeah.
they can memorize the language. They could conceivably write a program that would work. They're not coders. They're never going to be coders. It ain't going to happen. And so, how does this work in the future? Note that, and I'll probably do a video. I'm embarrassed to show you my accounts at this point because of the stupid amount of money, both that I've made on this call thing, and the amount that I've left on the table. At every increment, I've sold half.
Yeah.
I've left millions of dollars on the table. I happen to know that's a good thing, by the way.
Yeah.
This is how you do it. But it's good to be 64 and be the king. You know, a lot of the lessons you've learned the hard way the last time. But one of the things I've done is bought 1,000 shares of Uber stock.
Right.
And more importantly, 300 contracts, averaging $1.22 or something per, or $122 per contract for June 19th $45 Uber. I bought Uber at 34.5. It's about 38.5 today. Not a big move, but I'm in the money on both the call options and the thing. And this is kind of a awakening for me mentally. We had a situation shipping some batteries and equipment from Florida to EVTV. And our original estimate was $1,600 and something dollars, which quickly turned into $2,800 and something when they found out how the guy had it palletized.
Right.
And Richard got on a company called U-Ship, which is like Uber, but for people with trucks or trailers or who can ship stuff around. Neat company out of Austin. A neat story behind it. It's actually not brand new. It was started in 2004, but gaining traction just recently. And we had tried a number of web-based freight brokers, and they couldn't make a truck appear.
Right.
But this U-Ship works like Uber. Richard had a pickup scheduled in what, an hour?
Couple hours. Yeah.
Couple hours. We had the stuff 24 hours later, and it was $1,169. And the guy didn't even have a truck. He had a dually pickup and a trailer. You know, I don't really care what the truck looks like
as long
that
as it
brings
gets here.
it. I had the stuff within 24 hours at less than half of the price.
It's amazing.
Astonishing, right? And then I had several conversations with people who, for one reason or another, needed to relocate to be close to their family or otherwise lost their employment. So what were they doing in the interim? They were Lyft or Uber drivers.
That's right.
Well, how good can that be? Well, you can make $100, $150, $200 a day. How hard do you want to drive?
That's right. How many hours are you on the road? What area are you in?
And what area are you in? That's a big deal. And, well, you know, if you drove 5 or 6, well, hell, that turns out to be kind of a living.
You could live on that.
Yeah.
I mean, you can survive until you get your stuff put back
That's
together.
right.
You know, and then that takes you to Airbnb. And so there's this whole world of applications that are basically, the gist of it is, the server company, the app administrator, basically does all the marketing for you and all the transaction. Yeah. You don't have to collect any money at all. You don't have to take credit cards. It's all done in the app and the software, and you can redeploy unused resources to make money.
That's right.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I don't know where that ends, but I know that automobiles, for example, like airplanes, spend 3% of their time
Driving.
employed and
That's
the rest of the time parked.
Absolutely, yeah.
Boats, RVs. How many guys do I know with an RV parked next to their house with the tires flat?
That's right.
And they were so proud of it when they first got it. And the 6 nights they've used it were great fun.
Okay, yeah, really.
You know?
Sounds like me.
And so this is a way to read. So there's whole industries, a whole world opens up with this resource sharing concept enabled by apps and stuff. So Tesla owners, if you're paying $100,000 for a car, you don't really need to make a living as a taxi driver.
Right.
But if you get it down to $35,000 a car,
Opens it up.
or you want to lease one for $400 a month, and all of a sudden, this is a way to do it. And you're not buying gasoline.
Right.
That's right.
You outbid the other
You
Uber
have zero
drivers
cost.
by your existence.
That's right. Well, that's why we see so many Ubers now, especially even in North Carolina, that are electric vehicles, Bolts, Model 3s, you name it. They're all running around.
Well, that's because when they're bidding on doing the trip, they don't have even a $2.50 or $3 gasoline
That's right.
Yeah.
to factor into the thing. It's 14 cents a kilowatt hour electricity.
Yeah, or free supercharging.
Or
And it costs
free
them really nothing.
supercharging.
Well, we were in Austin and
Or in our case, Sunshine,
that's right.
That's right.
which is relatively cheap too.
Yep.
And so they have an inherent advantage. What would Tesla have to do, and this came out on the earnings call, to have such a network?
Nothing.
Well, it hadn't made any sense. They haven't had enough Teslas, but now they're getting where they do. But you already have a Tesla app on your phone.
That's right.
What would they have to do to add Uber functionality to the Tesla app that every Tesla driver already has in their pocket?
That's right.
This isn't a good job for summer interns.
That could get
It ain't a thing.
Right. It'll take them 5 days, done.
Yeah.
And you have a Tesla network. Forget the robo-taxis.
Yeah,
People
that-
drive, just the Uber, same
Yeah.
concept, but
Owners
ran by
drive.
Tesla.
Now, you want to ride. You want an Uber ride
Or a Tesla.
in somebody's hoopty,
Yeah.
or you want to ride there in a Tesla.
There you go.
Who's going to get the premium price on that?
Right.
I mean, people are predictable in their responses.
Absolutely.
Somebody's going to want the cheapest way to get there they can find.
That's right.
There's a whole lot of people that would say, I get to ride in a Tesla?
That's right.
Yeah.
I got to go there anyway.
Plus, it sort of shakes out all the bugs, getting ready for if and when ever is a robo-taxi. The app and every people will be used to using it, and all of a sudden now just the car shows up instead of a car and a driver.
That's right. If it ever happens.
If it ever happens, I
Right.
didn't say.
Yep, yeah, I know.
And I didn't say it wouldn't happen.
That's right. I didn't.
I'd say you don't need it. Forget it. You can still have a ride-sharing network on Tesla, and I think my 300 contracts on Uber are going to be a huge play
Okay.
before June. Uber could conceivably be a very profitable company. Tesla can duplicate that without effort
With
and
zero
without
effort.
cost.
That's right.
Yeah, but that wouldn't that basically cause your options to be worthless at that point, because the stocks would go down.
There you go.
Yeah.
Right.
You place your bet
And you.
and
You
you
spin- that's
spin
right.
the wheel.
Right.
Could Tesla do it by June?
No. Not Tesla.
They could, but they won't.
Well, I didn't buy any September options on
That's
it.
a good point. I stand corrected, Jack. Apologize for missing that point.
Timing is everything.
That's right.
I've been calling a Tesla stock, and Don reminded me in my original
Yeah.
August 2017 call was for a $950 Tesla stock within 5 years. We hit 940 this morning.
Yeah, I'm going to call that a win.
Yeah.
I updated that in February of 2018.
That's
Yeah.
right.
That if you'd give me another 6 months, I'd give you another $550. Let's call it $1,500
Yeah.
by February 2023.
Yeah.
That's right.
I almost look foolish at this
Yeah, you
point.
might
Yeah.
get that next
Foolishly
week.
conservative. At the time,
Yeah.
I was considered a
Right.
crackpot
Yeah.
who couldn't possibly know what he was talking about because none of that could ever happen.
Who's laughing
That's
now?
Well, speaking of that, let's take a victory lap. I want you all to stop right now and give 30 seconds of silence to consider all the brutally stupid things you've read in the last year from Tesla shorts
Yeah.
and the abusive things they have said to you
Yeah.
in the last 12 months. F that.
But they, you know, the
There are
creative-
no Tesla short stories on Seeking Alpha today.
Wonder why.
They've all gone away.
They all gone.
And most of them, instead of enjoying their 2.5 million pickup for the month, are living under an overpass in their car,
That's
Yeah.
right.
which isn't an electric car, it's a gas car.
That's right.
Yeah.
And they deserve it.
Yep.
Now I'm going to mention something else, which sort of terminates my stock advisory career, I guess. With the rise of Tesla and the rise of the market in general,
Yeah.
what you're seeing is a rise of stock market geniuses online giving a lot of great advice on investing. This pretty much presages every stock market crash in history.
Yes, absolutely.
When waiters and gas station attendants are giving stock tips, that's when you get out.
That's right. Pretty much.
And we're pretty much there. Right now, YouTube is overrun with geniuses
So many.
explaining to you their theory of investing.
Yeah.
Nobody has ever hit it as square in the nuts as I did in January 2020. It can't be done better. And I'm retiring. No more stock advice. Don't listen to it. Don't, by all means, don't bet any
Don't do
money
it.
on it. I don't care who it is. Even if it's Jack Rickard, don't go there.
Okay.
If this peaks and you start to see too much of it, you probably want to move everything to cash out of the
Right,
stock
cash out.
market itself. This happened right before the stock market crash at 29, 1987,
Yeah.
2008. Everybody's a blooming stock expert in a rising market.
Yeah.
Good point.
It all makes everybody look good.
Yes.
All boats rising tide. Yep.
Yeah. I'm going to tell you, you do want to put yourself in the way of good luck.
Yeah, I'm getting one over.
You want to put yourself in the path
That's right.
where if
That
a
hits
truckload
square
of good luck did come by,
Yeah,
you would get plowed over.
that's right. Please.
I believe in that.
Get covered with it.
But understand that the stupid win that I've shown, man, and I've got email from people that did better than I did.
Sure.
2, 3, 4 million bucks. Thank you.
Yep.
And they want to buy me dinner. How about send me a brand new Model X?
Right, yeah.
What are you talking about, dinner? Thank me. What are you talking about? It's better to be lucky than good.
Yeah, that's right.
And don't let it go to your head
No.
and get all giddy. I kind of sponsored a friend's bachelor party for his kid. And we went to Tunica and went, and they wanted to gamble. And we were playing golf and stuff. And some of these guys got in the blackjack table and they were winning a lot of money.
Oh.
And they were actually discussing dropping out of college and ending their career things to become professional blackjack players. On Sunday morning, this guy comes to me, and he's got half a dozen guys that can't pay their hotel bill. I actually paid the hotel bill for a half a dozen kids
Because they're gonna drop.
because by Sunday,
Yeah, they did.
Lost it all.
they
Business
they
plan
not
broke.
just lost it all, they couldn't pay their way out of their own hotel room.
When you play, you pay.
My first wife was a gambler, as an illness, a mental illness, and so I've seen this up close.
Okay.
I generally would say I wouldn't walk across the street to bet on whether it'll ever rain again, but I do get drawn into the NASDAQ, and I like to play, but I know what it is, and I can tell you, everybody's going to be giddy from this Tesla stock run up. Don't let it go to your head.
Right.
I agree.
Okay.
100%. I
It's
agree.
a once in a lifetime hit. Take it and move on.
Yep.
And for most of us, I'm just going to take my options win and rebuy into the Tesla at a much higher price. But I'll wind up with more shares than when I started.
That's right.
I started out with 1,100. I'm looking at about 2,500 shares at this point
Yep.
when I rearrange all that. Why? Because I believe in the future blue sky of Tesla. There is a lot of blue sky in cars, but that's not it. Auto insurance is a huge industry.
Yeah. Set
Tesla gets to walk in and sit down
That's right.
without effort.
Absolutely.
Resource sharing, Uber is a huge industry and going to be huger. And Tesla gets to walk in on the software efforts of children there as interns. That easily.
Yep.
Longtime viewers, need I discuss solar in my ongoing
Yeah,
rant
yeah.
about the power grid, solar power, and the history of civilization on Earth and its relationship with our ability to
Right.
manipulate energy?
Right.
Let's save that for another show. But a Tesla roof conceptually makes sense.
Absolutely.
Their power wall conceptually makes sense. And if they do that correctly, they will put me out of business, out of solar, as much as they did in electric cars. And I will
great.
not only be cheering them on,
Yeah.
but I'll be cashing
Yep.
on the side.
That'd be amazing.
EVTV itself has never made a dime.
No.
In 10 years, we've never approached a profit. I got to put money in it every year. And so that's the drill. Another interesting thing out of the earnings call,
Sure.
and I would call your attention to, was Elon Musk's lack of enthusiasm for getting into the $85 billion a year industry of over-the-road trucks.
Right.
Yeah.
And why is he unenthusiastic all of a sudden? Yeah, we'll roll out, we'll deliver some
Yeah.
semi-trucks this year, but not very many.
Right.
What's that about? He can't make batteries fast enough
That's
right.
the thing.
That's what he
to
said.
waste them on a truck.
As he said
You
those
get
words.
5 Model
Because-
Ys on the road for one truck.
That's what he
Exactly.
said.
Well, he said something else that's very interesting.
Yeah. Increase.
The problem he is mulling over and is keeping him awake nights right now, aside from full self-driving, and he actually gave these numbers. How do you go from making 35 gigawatts hours of batteries to 2 terawatts right now?
Right.
Not over the next 10 years.
Yeah.
No, it's
Gotta be quick.
He needs to go from 35 gigawatt hours, which, by the way, was the lithium output,
Oh, yeah.
battery output of the planet when
That's
he
right.
started that
Right.
factory.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
right.
Easily.
easily.
Now, the problem that's keeping him awake at night is how to go from 35 gigawatt hours annually of batteries to 2 terawatt hours of batteries. And he needs to do it right now.
That's right.
How does he do that? Leading up to the call, the opening of the Shanghai plant,
That's right.
did you notice that the head of the Shanghai plant said, oh, we can do 1,000 cars a day now, 1,000 cars a week now. We can't do that number of batteries.
That's right.
That's right.
they're battery constrained in China right now, or they would be if they had any workers there working.
That's right.
Because the Chinese New Year now is going to be the entire year, perhaps, because of the Kung Flu.
The Kung Flu.
Kung Flu.
And I can't get our prototypes and a lot of other stuff
That's
in
right.
China right now.
China's on
Of
lockdown.
our Model 3 module boards and connectors for the Model
Right.
3 battery and so forth. Because of Kung Flu, I can't get them
Right.
for the foreseeable future. And because of the Kung Flu virus. But with that, assuming we find a vaccine and so forth, and we will, the issue becomes batteries. And he just announced yesterday a contractual agreement with the China Amperex Technologies, cattle,
Okay.
to be the second source in China with LG for batteries. Tesla can't make enough batteries, and they don't see how they can make enough batteries at all.
Aren't they building a battery right next to Shanghai on the same piece of land? Or aren't they building a battery factory there also?
You know, they are.
Okay.
And the term battery has become somewhat vague.
Okay.
What is a battery, Don?
Energy storage device.
You know it is, but it's also cells formed into modules, formed into packs.
Right.
Now, who makes what? And how does all that work? And I'm going to take that back to lithium carbonate.
Right.
And the real constraint on batteries, believe it or not, has nothing to do with lithium or cobalt. The stock analysts in the press have got all that wrong too.
Okay.
The limiting factor on batteries is nickel
Right. In
and
fact,
the price of nickel.
Elon said we really ought not call them lithium ion. We ought to call them lithium nickel.
Graphite nickel
Graphite.
batteries.
That's what he said. Elon actually said
That's
that.
because that's what they are. And so cattle and LG will make cells, and Tesla will assemble those into modules and assemble the modules into packs. And I understand from the Third Row
Right, Third Row
podcast that he is now trying to figure out how to eliminate modules.
Just have cells and battery packs. No modules.
So why doesn't he upgrade the Model S and X battery? They already have
It's
5 or 6 times.
That's right.
You see, the battery pack and the modules, the cell is a can. It's made out of steel. What you put in the can is whatever you want to. And changing what you put into the can doesn't necessarily necessitate a change in any of the rest of it.
Right.
So he's saying Model S's now get better range than they advertise because the batteries are already upgraded, but they're still 18650.
650, yeah.
18650 is a physical description
That's right.
of a
Of a
can size.
That's right. Yep.
That's all it is.
Doesn't matter what's in there.
just a package.
The battery news is actually Dr. Jeffrey Don's discovery or implementation. It's kind of cropped up 3 or 4 different places at the same time. That ethylene carbonate was always the culprit on lithium dendrite.
Yeah.
And so if you can eliminate that from the stew of organic solvents in the electrolyte, that you can increase the lifetime of the battery by about 5 times.
Right.
And so he has a new 2-part, again, organic solvent electrolyte with lithium salts in it. And they can do the 1,000,000-mile battery, but there's also some tuning in there on the crystal size
Yeah.
on the cathode. and the whole Maxwell dry
Oh, yeah.
cathode process that can incrementally
Okay.
change the energy density of the cell. So we'll have batteries that last longer and have a higher energy density, or the amount of power they can store per weight or volume. Amount of electrical energy they can store by weight or volume. And so all those are improvements. And so you want to talk about the size of the cell or the modules or the battery pack. Those are all completely different topics.
Yep.
But you could say the word battery, and you would think that's it. It's a little more complicated than that. Not complicated, just actually intricate. And so you have to deal with that somewhat knowledgeably, and Elon Musk is extremely knowledgeable about it. He was doing his postgraduate work on ultracapacitors.
Right.
And as he's noted, the lithium battery advanced to the point where they're completely irrelevant.
That's right.
They simply don't matter. There's nothing to discover or fix an ultracapacitor. They just don't matter.
Right.
It's all about battery chemistry, and they continue to do that. And Tesla is now the largest producer, but also the largest consumer of batteries and battery materials in the world. If you had a battery the size of a pack of Camel cigarettes that would drive a car 12,000 miles, what would you do with it?
Cut it probably
Yeah.
one cigarette size
Yeah.
and build 20 cars
Right.
with it.
I wouldn't do anything until I took it to Tesla and
Oh,
had
right,
tell
I'm
me
sorry.
what they wanted me to do with
Yeah,
it.
that's right. Follow that 1,000-mile
Like
carburetor.
John Dillinger said, why do you rob banks? That's where the money is.
That's right. And then Tesla's got a lot of money right now.
Tesla's the largest consumer of batteries in the world. How do the other guys catch up? Some new discovery. Anybody making a new discovery,
Going right to Tesla.
guess where they're going to go first?
Right, Tesla, absolutely. So do you believe that the cost of the raw materials is going to slow the price reduction in batteries?
The price reduction in batteries will be like the gains in efficiency of motors or anything else.
Okay.
A consecutive series of approximations approaching zero.
Okay.
And so you can decrease the cost of the battery dramatically the first whack
That's
at
right.
it.
First
Right.
big one, right?
And then you can get half as much
That's
for the
right.
same
Okay.
investment.
Yeah.
It's kind of like selling your options. See, sell half and keep half.
Right.
And then you sell half of what's left and keep half. And then you
agree.
sell. It's successive approximations to the point where it doesn't make any sense to invest further in getting another 1% off for the same costs that you got the first 30% off.
Right.
Right. Yep.
Okay.
So it's a series of approximations approaching the event horizon, if you will.
Sure. So the Maxwell dry process is going to cut a little bit more cost out of there. Probably speed up the production somewhat.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
The dry process has nothing to do with the cost of the materials. The dry process is the manufacturing process, which was deeply ugly
Right.
because of the use of liquid solvents. For those unfamiliar with the manufacture of batteries, they basically take aluminum or copper foil
Right.
and print
Print on it.
the
Yep.
active materials on
gotta
it
dry
in
it.
an ink. And the ink, of course, is a a solvent-based binder or glue.
Yep.
And once you've printed it, you have to dry it before you can roll it up and move it somewhere else or do any further manufacturing steps. To dry it, they had to run it through an oven. Well, also these are solvent-based, so you can't really just release the solvent to the
you had
air.
to capture all that.
Certainly not in California. They don't want to
That's right,
breathe
yeah.
any of that. They're very clean people, except for the hundreds of thousands of people they have crapping on the sidewalk, but they're not going to have any solvents in the air or plastic straws.
Big believers of methane, right?
And so well, it's not like back here in the States, you know. And so, but you can't have so you have to capture the solvent vapors and redistill them into a liquid form
Yep,
and so
yep,
forth.
absolutely.
But the ink takes a certain amount of time and
Yeah.
a certain temperature
Sure.
to dry.
Yeah, those ovens are huge. I mean,
Well, they tend to be. If you can either run it through a small oven really slowly,
right.
or if you want to increase the speed of your line, you have to increase the length of the oven.
Right.
But you have to increase it quite a bit to get a little decrease in
Okay,
time.
makes sense.
But they wind up with 110-foot long ovens.
Sure.
And and this slows down the whole process. Well, the Maxwell acquisition replaces these solvents entirely
That's right.
with a powdered plastic polymer. And so you mix the nanoparticle or microparticle, more likely size polymer beads
Right.
with your active material,
Yep.
and you kind of dust that onto the aluminum and run it through a hot fusion roller. And with pressure and heat, that kind of mashes it all together. The polymer softens and flattens into little pancakes.
Okay.
The spherical beads are flattened to pancakes that attach to each other, to the foil, and to all the particles of the active material.
Right.
And when you come off the roller, you're back to room temperature.
Yeah, pretty quick.
And
On to the next step in the
on to
process.
the next step in the process. The whole drying oven thing goes away.
Not needed, yep.
Undiscussed is the variables of how much powder, what particle size, what particle size the active material,
Right.
what's the temperature of the fusion roller, what's the pressure on the fusion roller.
Yep.
And all those can
Tweaked.
go into the energy density of the cell, and that can be tested. So you have multiple variables that are interactive to tweak for optimized battery cells.
Right.
This is like sending 35 Democrats into a round room and telling them to go crap in the corner. It's three monkeys trying to have sex with a football on a wax tile floor. It's, it never ends. And you get into the same successive approximations
Right.
to optimize the battery, but you got a new game now.
Got a new, big
Whole
knob
new
to
game.
turn.
That's
Yeah,
right.
we got a bunch of big knobs to turn
Yeah.
and see what they do. And if you got a knob and a meter, man, you can send an engineer to heaven.
That's right. Pretty much.
It's so that's got a lot of blue sky into it, but again, with the decreasing return on investment as you continue that. But they've reset that now. See, that's already been done
Right.
Okay.
in the batteries, and now all of a sudden we've backed up introduced a bunch of new variables
That
and are going to areas we've not been to before, as far as energy density, power density, and stability in life on the batteries.
That's right.
Because I thought in the materials during the purchase of Maxwell, they said they had 400 watts per kilogram in a path to 500?
No,
Something
no,
like that?
no. They had demonstrated a bit of an improvement.
Okay.
And they actually manufactured from some Tesla cells trying to get a contract with Tesla.
Okay.
Tesla didn't offer them a contract. They offered to buy the company.
Right.
That's right.
But they touted a path to perhaps 400 watt hours per kilogram.
'Cause-
Okay.
You're correct.
So but that's like, I mean, that's another one of those moves, the electrification, the energy management, the grid storage, all these things move. And that's why you need 2 trillion
Well, the two
terawatts of,
terawatts is
just for cars?
no, not just for cars. They've got a new 1 megawatt
Yeah, mega pack.
hour mega pack
Yeah,
that on a head-to-head with a natural gas powered power plant already wins.
yeah,
Right.
It already wins on the face of it, the investment.
right, which is really,
So their prospects in a large-scale power storage, there's no limit. There's no known limit to what they can sell into that market. It's a market that isn't even there yet.
That's right.
It becomes enabled by the ability to do it.
that's right.
Yep.
Residential and commercial buildings. My theme of point-of-use generation and storage of power. The power wall. The solar glass roof. Turns out it is the same stuff as the windows in the Cybertruck. All of that is they're unlimited markets, but they require batteries. And so Elon Musk thought right at the moment, the pressing thing on his brain, believe it or not, is not the stock price. It's how do I get from 35 gigawatts to 2 terawatt hours of battery storage? And I need it right now.
Now, that's right.
I'm constrained on all fronts
Right.
at the moment. My Shanghai factory can't operate at the speed it already can operate at because I can't get enough batteries.
Right.
The semi-truck works.
Okay.
We've tested it. We've run it. I've got orders. I've got people waiting on their trucks. I can't be bothered because I can't produce enough batteries to deliver them.
Right.
Right.
Absolutely.
The power wall.
Oh, yeah.
I ordered the first power wall. I ordered the second power wall. And this went on so long they couldn't even refund it to my credit card because my credit card had expired. They had to send me a paper check, and we don't even know how to cash those around here.
Take a picture of it.
Well, that's what you do. And so we've never gotten a power wall.
Right.
We've never gotten a solar roof. We sign up for everything and we get whatever they want us to have, whenever they want us to have it. I did, yesterday, order a Tesla Model Y,
Oh,
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah.
black, chrome delete,
oh,
Yep.
oh.
black wheels, black tires,
Uh-huh.
black appointments, and a black interior. Guess what color this car I'm hoping will be? Freaking black.
You're all in on black.
I'm all in on black. I'm like the Johnny Cash at
Yeah,
Teslas.
that's
I like black. And
I'm the other way. I'm all in on the white.
I ordered a Model Y.
interior.
I've ordered a Cybertruck. And guess who ain't paying for either one of them?
You.
This guy. Guess who's paying for it? Tesla
Tesla
Shorts.
That's right.
Yep.
Yep.
Thank y'all.
Thank y'all and good night. And so that's where that goes. But yeah, we've got an enormously positive outlook, and people who think Tesla is a automotive company are now officially recognized by others than Jack Rickard
Yeah.
to be morons in public. Publicly self-confessed idiots. Like they've raised their hands and said, a picture, here's a Elizabeth Warren selfie
me.
of stupid. Click.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is it, baby.
When are you gonna get to, you know, how many
If you
times?
see this in the mirror, you're one of me. Dumb as a rock.
How many times?
Because insurance,
So many other things.
solar energy,
Yeah.
these are not pie in the sky things they could develop. These are things that fall out on the floor
That's right.
while they're doing what they're doing right now. They fall out on the floor. Tesla ride-sharing network.
Right.
Yep.
Tesla insurance
Yep.
with drive monitoring. They can't not drive monitor.
That's right.
That's right. Yeah.
They already have this stuff.
Yep.
It's already done. The question is, how do they make enough of it with only unlimited funding and people to work with?
That's
Right.
right.
They get to hire whoever they
Whoever
want.
want.
That's very
That's
true.
right.
Very true.
They have unlimited access to capital.
Yeah, all they want.
As Elon Musk said on the call, we're spending money as fast as we can now
Right.
with any sense.
Yep.
Spending it faster could only be stupid.
Yep.
Right.
We can't do it in a smart, intelligent fashion.
Yeah. I thought it was very interesting when he said, you know, the demand, he doesn't even think about demand. He's only worrying, how in the world am I going to produce all I've got to produce? He's just worrying about production.
And the hurrier I go, the behinder I get.
Yeah.
That's what's going on, guys.
Yep.
And I'm sympathetic to his frustration in dealing with all these people the last couple of years. I haven't had to deal with them, and I already knew.
Mm-hmm.
It's not anything. It's not like they're not going to make the robots put the car together.
Right.
What are you talking about?
Right.
Yep.
They're going to run out of money. Wait a minute. The guy can raise,
Yeah.
he can call for $2 billion with his fingers and
That's
then
right.
have it in 3 days, but it's $3 billion.
Yep.
So
Right.
we're subscribed
Right.
every time.
Yeah.
What do you do about all their debt?
Not worry about it. He's.
You know, I wouldn't worry about it too much since it all converted stock at
That's
$385
right.
bucks.
I
It's
forgot about that.
$940 today.
Yeah. That's please give me some more.
Right.
It's raining money.
Right. I forgot.
The
about
money he borrowed, he doesn't have to pay back.
that. Yes,
That's right. Yep.
Yeah. Please, Elon, take my money.
Pick a place. Where's the problem, Kyle? Pick a problem, and I'll explain to you why it's not even a thing.
I agree. No, I'm right with you. Yep.
What's your concern with Tesla going forward?
Well, I've said earlier this morning, the only thing I could see that would rock the boat is Elon do something stupid. And I don't know what it could possibly be, but Elon's a hell of a lot
It'd have
smarter
to be
than me.
really
so
dumb.
he could,
He
you know.
could not possibly hire enough stupid people
That's right.
at an
To
Iowa
mess it up.
Democratic caucus
Right. Yeah.
to accomplish what you're describing here.
Okay,
That's right.
well,
I
I'm
agree.
glad
They're
to
not
know.
available for cash.
They're all in the Democratic Party right out
Yeah.
Got it.
These are the guys that held an election yesterday and don't know who won.
Right. That's right.
today.
That is right.
Am I over exaggerating here?
No.
That's right.
What part of this am I making up?
None of it.
None of it.
So Tesla going forward, what's to stop them from becoming the biggest company in the world? They have 0.46%
That's right.
of an automotive market of 85 million units a
Yeah.
year.
That's right.
and a plant in China, which is the fastest growing area of the market.
That's right.
Kung flu accepted.
Right.
That's right.
What part do you want to talk about and when?
Yeah.
They're already on me. My videos are 2 hours long. We've probably done
No,
that
I'm sorry.
right here.
Yeah. I don't know.
It's not what I know, it's what do you want to hear?
Right.
You're two Tesla fanboys.
Yeah, pretty.
What do you want to know about? I got this.
Right. Well,
And why do I got it? Because it's all about what?
batteries.
It's always about the battery.
I mean,
It's always about the battery.
I'm looking very much forward to this battery day.
Yep.
I'm sure, what I would really want to know probably won't come out, but he at least will show a few more cards, maybe, like you said.
That's right.
The big silence right now on the Model Y. It's the same thing with this battery stuff. He's had Maxwell for a year now, and we all know that it's something special. We just don't know how special that is. He hinted to it on the earnings call that it's big. He had something.
The other OEMs, here's a concern. The other OEMs are going to wake up and kill Tesla.
What? When they sell their assets for 6 cents on the dollar?
Yeah, that's not.
That's right. What? After the part where they each put the little shit on their desk in the cardboard box and march
That's
it
right.
to the parking lot.
That's right.
You don't understand. I have to deal with the Tesla killers that are coming. What about them? No, you don't get it. We got a whole new generation of Uber drivers coming out of this car thing.
Yeah, there's a lot of
I really agree
My
with that.
concern isn't what VW is going to do about Tesla. It's what are VW employees going to do for a living.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's very much a reality.
Yeah.
It's scary.
and I think
The competition.
I could not believe BMW. The guys sit there and say,
Yeah,
"Oh,
well, that-
we're going all in on diesels for till 2040." It's like, what are you talking about? This guy,
Yeah,
they're going to be the
What
first
planet
one.
are you phoning in from?
Yeah, BMW is likely not going to survive. It's really, as a BMW fan, it hurts for me to see it.
Yeah, I think they're going to probably if
Ford, General Motors.
Yeah,
You don't, people don't understand how thresholdy that business is. It looks like they're huge in scale, so they must be solid as rocks.
Right, not the case.
They're poised on a razor edge every day of their
right,
lives.
every day.
They're
That's right.
betting the entire company that they can predict the exact number of what model 4 years from now.
You're absolutely right.
Right.
You're
And
absolutely right.
if they miss the number, they're dead.
That's right.
That's always been the case.
right.
Chrysler went out of business. The government bailed them out. General Motors went out of business. The government bailed them out. If you want a car company based on that technology, it's got to be government owned and run.
Right.
And you have to pay for it as a taxpayer.
That's right.
Because it can't make it.
Yeah.
Amtrak. Yeah, same thing.
Yeah, I agree. All of these workers that are going to be out of business. I mean, 1 in 3 Germans are in the auto industry. And how many of them will be without a job? Almost all of them at some point.
Kodak film is not coming back, guys.
That's
No.
right.
I'm sorry.
It's not going to happen.
It was great.
Yep.
It's gone.
Out at Fully Charged Live, I did get to see the Rivian. I had seen pictures and videos on the internet of Rivian. I was sort of cool towards it, let's say. And in fact, my analogy, I told Kyle, I was about a 3. After seeing the Rivian SUV,
R1S.
R1S, I'm about a 7 or 8. That's it looks very capable.
And that's the
I don't-
battery engineer.
With the amount of money Amazon's, basically extended to them.
It's the Amazon pickup truck.
That's right.
Amazon. But I would.
And you'll get one after they get their vans.
Well, that's right.
That is
That's the only problem there.
right.
Right.
I think I'll get one. I really like it. Yeah.
Yeah, I was very impressed with that
Yep.
the sedan. I'm not a pickup truck guy, although I have a Cybertruck on order.
Right.
But
You'll get used to one.
yeah, I know. I can live with it. I just thought that
The Rivian and the Cybertruck. line them up, man.
Yeah.
It just does.
And they don't have all that legacy stuff like the GMs and the Fords and all those others. And
I'll
again,
tell you right now, the Rivian pickup truck doesn't even matter.
right?
I don't care how good it is.
Okay.
I don't care how much you like it. You ain't gonna buy it because you're gonna be driving a Cybertruck.
Right.
That's fine.
I probably would buy if for the pickup truck, I'd buy the Cybertruck. That's right.
There's a lot of cool things been done. I like parts of the Chevy Volt. I like all electric
That's
cars.
right.
Same here.
All of them
Yep.
have pluses and minuses and stuff.
Yes.
EVTV used to talk about all the electric car
That's right.
introductions.
Yeah.
And of course the VW press releases.
yes.
They didn't actually have cars, but they put out great
All of
press
the
releases.
concepts.
Every week you had one.
That's
And
right.
I still like all that. There's no point in talking about it. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I agree. It'll be such a small blip. Maybe not even a blip.
I said in August and everybody laughed. If somebody doesn't do something right now, it'll be like restaurants in that movie of the future with Sandra Bullock. They'll all be Taco Bells.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, cars are all going to be
Teslas,
Teslas
that's
in
right.
the future. If somebody doesn't do something pretty damn quick,
You're right.
and the window is closing.
Right.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%.
It's well, it sounded crazy in August. Now it makes sense.
Yeah.
I would have probably agreed in
It's
August
6
as well.
months.
Yeah.
It's I mean, anything can happen. I believe in
Oh, right, sure.
anything. But right now, you have to change a trend line
That's right.
to get away from this.
Right.
And yeah, you like the Rivian, and I can like your Rivian. I'm not going to personally own one, but
Right.
I can like yours.
that's fine. Yeah, yeah.
just
Yeah,
fine.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think everybody ought to have choices.
Absolutely.
And I don't want Tesla to have a monopoly on anything. By the way,
Right. Neither do I.
that leads to bad things.
That's not a good.
I
thing
agree.
either.
And so I do not want Tesla to own it all in solar or in automobiles or
Right.
in batteries.
I agree.
That's why I call your attention to this now, while you can still do something.
Right. There's very few manufacturers going an all-in effort to battle Tesla. And they really need to just say, we're stopping everything and divert all resources to electrification.
What I've seen so far, lame, little, and late.
That's right.
Lame little.
I agree.
And, do whatever you want, but I'm in the usual position. You're not going to believe me about putting your stuff in the boxes and carrying it to the parking lot until you're standing in the parking lot.
That's
Right. It's very much real.
And it's too late then
Yep.
to wonder how Jack knew. It doesn't matter how Jack knew.
Right. I agree.
You're still in the parking lot with your little box,
That's right.
with your wife's photo and your dog's photo and all that
That's
shit.
right.
It's all in the little box.
Right. And oh, by the way, there's really no other jobs for you to do except Uber.
Well, I think there'll be a whole world of them in Uber and Uship and Airbnb.
Yeah,
and
I agree with that.
I can't even predict all the resource sharing things
It's going to be incredible.
that are going to be out there. And that's the positive outlook this week. I finally see a path to the presidency. Actually, I finally see a path to a future where there's more opportunity from technology rather than less, because it's been such 20 years of disruption that it's disoriented me. It's happened too fast. And I couldn't see where the future was going. But it's a beautiful future. You'll be a lot more people working more independently instead of for a boss.
Right, I agree.
Yeah.
It'll be great.
And control of their own lives and prosperity. If you want to drive 1 hour a day, that's fine. If you want to drive 20 hours a day, that's fine.
Yep.
And if you don't want to drive at all, but you want to do some other resource sharing type thing, there'll be that.
That's right.
And so a whole world of opportunities based on globally interactive resource sharing by phone.
Right.
I agree.
And it can be applied. I don't know where all it can be applied. I can't see that far.
People figure it out.
People will figure it out.
Yep.
Once the model is down, it's down. It's replication. And so that's, and I'm not at all afraid of AI taking over the world. I don't even think it can take us around the corner and get it right for the third try.
Not for a very long time.
For a long time.
Eventually, yes, not anywhere in the foreseeable near future.
Guys, thanks for coming. My voice is starting to fail.
well,
I can only talk so long before I'm croaking into the camera and they make fun of me, I don't talk fast enough.
That's
I
right.
don't- I'm an old guy. They're concerned about my health.
Oh,
They think if I'll do something, I could live forever. Why would I want forever with a bunch of ass clowns like you? What are you talking about?
I love it.
I'm here on assignment. When I'm done, I'm out of here.
that's right. Okay. Sounds good.
So,
Enjoyed it.
but
Thanks
anyway,
for having
thanks
us.
for coming.
Thank you
You
so
guys
much,
are
as always.
marching into the future, and congratulations on all of it.
Yeah. Thank you. Well, thanks.
Mr. Miller is now a proud Tesla shareholder.
Yes, on Jack's his August 2000, the 950.
On the 950 call.
I said okay.
Well, it took a while, but
Yeah. Right. And then when you did the 1500, I bought some more, and I have bought some more since then. So yes, I'm quite pleased right now. I still haven't decided exactly when I plan to sell, but right now I'm definitely long.
why would you say?
I know I'm long. Let me finish. I'm long on Tesla.
Yep.
I'm not as good as you are with all this put and call. That's beyond my level of understanding.
Right.
But I could just hold, and I see a road to plenty of money it's going up.
Well, and that's the way to do it. My personal belief on stock investing, if you want it, is grandma's strategy.
Right.
Find products you use yourself and like yourself, and that are made by companies that appear to be executing well,
That's right.
and buy those.
And I think
And
Tesla.
It's a great-
put them in the drawer.
Advice.
Yeah.
Yep.
And make very wealthy grandchildren.
Right.
Right.
And that's the deal.
Yep.
And it works for grandmothers worldwide, while stock analysts
Yeah.
wind up living in their car under overpasses.
That's
That's
right.
right.
I mean, I'm sorry, that's the way it
That
is.
is. Yep. Absolutely.
Grandma's got it.
Yep.
She kind of keeps it a secret,
Yeah.
but all those Kellogg shares worked out for her.
Yeah. My IBM shares is still working.
IBM shares have
Still
worked for a lot
Oh,
of
that's
people.
right.
Still working for me.
So stay with us. There'll be more, not a whole lot of more stock advice,
Yeah.
as I'm kind of
Yeah.
You're
getting
retiring.
crowded out of the market by all the people who are much brighter and much better at that than I am, and so they should talk a lot about what they know about that.
Yeah, right. Don't follow my advice. Buy low. Buy high, sell low.
Follow my advice and do whatever you want.
There you go. I like it.
All right, let's take a brief look at what's happened since January 6th. And this is literally all of my trades from January 6th to February 4th. You can see here I bought some more puts, February and March 350s. And then I sold on the 7th of January 100 of my February 21st $600 calls at $6. And keep in mind, I paid about 99 cents for them. You'll see later why it would have been nice for me to hang on to a few more of those, but I sold 100 of them at $6 for $60,000. I sold 50 of the February 21st 600 calls at $10.63 the next day. And so had I only waited, well, I got $53,000 for that, and that was half as many as I had sold the previous day for $60,000. I bought some puts. I sold 10 March 20th 600s for $15. And then I sold the 100 February 21st at $9.28. I just sold them for $6 up here. Here I got $9.28 for them on the 9th. What I'm doing here, you can't really hit the peaks, and this will, in arrears, look very conservative. Oh God, what I could have made and how much I left on the table. That's not the point. As the stock goes up, you do what I call take some and leave some. You sell half your holdings at each stock increment, and that leaves you half. And so kind of by successive approximations, you exit. Here I did 20 at $12.98. I bought some more puts, and I actually bought 50 March 20th $700 calls. These are even more out of the money, but the stock price has gone up for $5.75. And then I did something kind of unusual. I took some of my winnings and bought 1,000 shares of Uber and 100 Uber June 19th, 2020, $45 calls. They were $1 a piece. I thought that was unusually low. Here I sold 10 more Tesla February 21st. Now I'm up to $25. I was selling them for $6 here. But I sold 10 and kept some. And I bought some more $700 calls at $6.73, and then on a stock dip bought 10 more at $4.84. And here I bought another 100 Ubers on January 21st, $45 calls at $1.45. And then on January 29th, I sold 20 Tesla February 21st calls at $38.70. These are the same ones I bought for 99 cents and sold a bunch of them at $6. And then on the 30th, I sold another 10 at $58.25. And later on the 30th, I sold another 10 at $61.36. This is 10 times what I sold down here. And so I raised $60,000 here. Here I sell 10 of them for $58,000 and another 10 of them for $61,000. On February 3rd, let's see what I did. I sold 5 March 20th $600 calls at $143, and 20 of my new $700 calls at $77.87. See, these things have gone up 4, 5, 10 fold. I want to take cash off the table, but you take some and you leave some. Here on February 3rd, I sold 3 March 20th $600 calls at $168.86. Well, that raised $50,000. I bought another 100 Uber $45 calls. They're up to $1.50. And then let's see here on the 3rd at 2:42 p.m. I sold on March 20th 600 at $178.42. and then 10 March 2700s at 107. I paid $5 for these. Here I sold 10 at 249.17, and on the 4th another 10 at 247.83. And then I did something you're going to find a little strange. I bought some $500 puts, kind of expensive, at $12.50. And then on the 4th, I sold off a lot of my loser puts at a huge loss. But it wasn't really huge. You can't lose more than the buck or two I paid for them. And they had actually bounced back up on volatility with the stock going up. They'd about doubled, and I said, hey, let's get these off the board. And my final trade at 3:50 p.m. on the 4th was 5 of the March 20th $700 calls at $294.05. Now here I bought them for $6.73. That's 50 times my money. And so I sold 5 at $29.05 and banked $147,000. Net, after the things I bought and the things I sold on January 6th to the February 4th, I picked up $1.3 million in cash. But that's not all. Let's take a look over here at our screenshot. This is what I had left as of the close, January 5th. I still have 300 shares of Tesla and it closed at $887 for $266,000. I still have this one lonely contract for a March $2,600 call. It's up to $302.35. And my March 20th 700s, which I just sold at $294 and $247, have dropped to $225. And here's a few puts. Here's my $12.50 puts, are at about even. And here's my Ubers. I bought at $34.75. They're up to $38.53. I've averaged $1.31 on 300 contracts on Uber, and they're up to $2.09. That money's up 55%, and it's not even on Tesla. And now the contracts are worth more than the stock is in my holding. And so with about $1.6 million in cash, I've got $2,684,746 in there. So it's gone pretty well, but understand I never tried to time the peak. I placed my bet, and I even extended it with the March 700s. And then I would sell off, but I never sold all of it. I'd sell half and keep half, and sell half and keep half, and sell half and keep half. Because, believe it or not, I can't tell the future. And so it's worked out extremely well for me in the last few weeks. But it's a very unusual run on Tesla stock. Volatility will continue, but note that swings both ways. And so don't try to time these things, other than roughly, and leave yourself room to swing either way. So that's kind of been the trading concept here. And it's worked out well in this case. Other times, not so well. Stay with us.